Greetings, everybody. Welcome to our workshop on people that are stressed out this time of year and what can we do about it. We call it the holiday red zone, this is called, and we're going to go into it with detail of exactly what we mean by that. So let me just bring up my PowerPoint and share this. And I just want to welcome everybody that is on this webinar. If you are on this webinar, here's what I know about you. You are an action taker. And if you're on this webinar because I invited you, because you're part of the practice, I'm so glad you're here. And I think you're going to get a lot out of this. If you're someone I've never met, then what I know about you is somebody cares about you because they told you to get on, or they're tired of hearing you complain, right? For whatever reason, welcome everybody that is here. And I'm going to just share my screen so we can jump right into our webinar. Here we go. So this is all about how to survive the holiday red zone. And I just want you to know that, we can kind of make fun of this idea of stress during the holidays, but it is a real deal. It really is something that happens this time of the year where stress peaks to the highest levels. And I'm actually on a team of a global program of doctors that want to educate their community so that they can have better health. We're called the Wellness Champions. And so I have committed to doing these kinds of workshops so that I can help my community. And this is the specific topic for this month, which is holiday stress. And what I want to teach you is the most powerful ways to not just manage holiday stress, but to literally do things that are going to allow you to finish the year strong. Because if you really do this right, it can actually reduce your risk of dying from heart disease, cancer, and other chronic diseases. So stress is a very big deal. And this time of the year, it just gets really over the top. And there's a story I want to share with you that just has stuck with me over the years. From this time of the year about stress. A couple of my colleagues were on a plane at this time of the year, one year, and the plane they were on, there was a guy on the plane, middle-aged guy, kind of out of shape, traveling with his 11-year-old daughter, who had a heart attack on the plane and died on the plane. So that when that plane landed, that little girl, 11 years old, got off that plane without her dad. And when they further when you got more details, as I said, the guy was a little bit out of shape and he was middle-aged. And so I just imagine that the guy was probably thinking, yeah, I'm out of shape. I'll get around to it. Now's not a good time. He thought he had time. He thought his body could withstand the stress of travel, but clearly it couldn't. And so that always stuck with me, that what if somebody had gotten to that guy sooner and created a pivot point for him to get him on the road to a healthier life, a healthier lifestyle, and a healthier life? How would his daughter's life be different today? Never mind his own life. So, I bring that up just as a way to start this conversation, because I don't want people to take it lightly. It really does impact people in a huge way. And stress is on the rise in our country, if you haven't noticed. And, even before the last 3 years of the stresses from the pandemic and everything that was associated with that and has been associated with that, even before that, studies showed that year after year, people were feeling like stress was getting worse. In 2018-19, people said that 40% of the people said they had more stress that year than they did the year before. So we just know that already stress was big. And what we know is that it actually has gotten even bigger for many people. And so how do we manage that stress? How can we still have a robust level of health in spite of that stress? Those are the things that I want to be sharing with you today. And modern life is already so unnaturally stressful. It's just not designed at all the way we were designed to be living. and people are just maxed out all the time. And this is what they call the typical holiday red zone, because this is the time of year when stress and burnout just happens so much at so much of a higher level, and to the point where people just start to call the old stress the new normal. And then this is just a little bit more stress. But the problem is that the year turns and the stress doesn't go down. It just changes and it stays at high levels. So it's a problem. And so stress literally is life-threatening. You know, maybe not today or tomorrow, but it accumulates and it results in all sorts of conditions, and it is serious. In fact, let me just show you this chart to demonstrate what I mean about this holiday red zone. So this is a chart that goes from whoops, let me do that again. There we go. It goes from July to June. So you can see that this time of the year is right in the middle of this calendar, right? So Christmas and New Year's Day is right in the center of this 12-month graph. And this is from 1973 to 2001. I promise you, from 2001 to 2019, nothing changed here. This same spike would happen year after year after year. And what they found is that the heart attack rates would jump 33% in December and January. And the American Institute of Stress notes that 55% of Americans are stressed throughout the day, and that makes Americans among the most stressed out population in the world. But work-related stress is at an all-time high, with 83% of American workers suffering from job-related stress. And again, that was even before COVID. In 2019, as I said, 79% of Americans feel stressed sometimes or frequently throughout each day. 44% of Americans feel they were stressed more than they were even just 5 years ago. And now we add the whole COVID piece to it. Now, you know, although there were deaths from COVID, that death rate from the virus was actually pretty low, just 0.26%. But roughly 30% of American adults were not just stressed from this whole pandemic, but they were displaying symptoms of anxiety or depressive disorder. And this is in comparison in 2019, when the rates were at 6 to 8% of American adults. So it jumped from 6 to 8% up to 30%. That's 1 in 3, right? Think of all the people you know, 1 in 3 literally expressing symptoms of anxiety or depressive disorder, right? It's a big deal. And so how does this happen? Let's unpack this a bit and look at some of the details here and understand it. So when it comes down to our hardwiring, how our bodies are hardwired, we have 4 limited resources: time, energy, focus, and money. And anytime that we feel that there's stress in any of these categories, our bodies actually go into a stress response. And I'll tell you that human beings are economists, because we always are looking for what our survival advantage is. So the least expenditure of energy in any of these categories, the more likely we would survive if a tiger showed up, right? So that's what it all comes down to, is our hardwiring. And so if you look at these categories, time, energy, focus, and money, you know that we are maxed out from every angle here. And that's all year long. And then you just add the extraordinary extra stress of the holidays. And the holidays are demanding all 4 of these from us, right? So we have chronic low-grade stress, whether that's social stress or physical stress or chemical stress. It comes in 3 dimensions, and we're going to look more deeply at that. It has a very real physical consequence. So social stress has a physical consequence. And it's very similar to acute stress that we're hardwired for, like if a tiger was chasing us. So if we look at what a stress response would look like, right? Our stress hormone production would be increased so that we are ready to fight the tiger. Our melatonin is going to downregulate. That's the sleep hormone. So if a tiger is chasing you, it's not a good time to go to sleep. Blood pressure will increase, cholesterol upregulates, clotting factors upregulate, insulin sensitivity goes down, which means blood sugar goes up, and inflammation and swelling also are heightened. And if you look at these ones that are bolded here, that looks like a heart attack waiting to happen, doesn't it? Right? So that is the stress response. And, when we look at fighting the tiger, if you're fighting a tiger, you don't need to do algebra or learn something. You just need to get away from the tiger, right? You just need to survive the next minute. And so we actually rarely experience a tiger, any of us these days, a real tiger. We rarely have a life-threatening situation, a very real, in the moment, life-threatening situation. But what we do have is chronic, low-level versions of that. And what happens is that builds up and accumulates over time. And it's our lifestyle stresses that are the problem here, not a one-off encounter with a tiger, which just never happens. So if we can't adapt to these ongoing stresses, our body's going to start to break down. And you'll notice that weakening of connective tissues is one of the things that comes out of a prolonged stress response. And also our immune system is going to downregulate when we have a prolonged stress response. In the moment, it will downregulate, which is okay because it's just for a short period of time while we're fighting the tiger. But if the tiger doesn't go away, if the stress doesn't go away, it's not going to be a good strategy, a good long-term strategy to have the immune system downregulated. And again, if we look at how this is the red zone, the holiday red zone where stress increases, isn't it funny that we have something called the flu season that usually follows the holidays? Well, I'll tell you what, it's not the flu season, it's the sugar and stress season is what it is, right? This is the sugar and stress season. These are the things that are increasing our stresses, and that then causes our immune system to downregulate. So whatever the symptoms are, symptoms actually serve a purpose. And the purpose of symptoms is to let us know that we need help. It's our body's way of asking for help. We like to refer to the symptoms as body signals. So it's your body trying to communicate with you. And if you can understand the language that your body is speaking, then you can do something about it. But in our culture, we are taught to just ignore those symptoms or mask them or just live around them, right? If you do that, it's too stressful, just stop doing that thing that is too stressful. Just live around it. Just restrict your life a bit more. Just don't do so much. That's usually the culture's way of trying to adapt. And so what we understand is that the symptoms are not the problem. The symptoms are the sign that there's a bigger problem. So the symptoms tell us that there is a problem, but the symptoms are not the problem. If we think the symptoms are the problem, then we're just going to look for a way to not feel that symptom anymore. So, a painkiller could do that. But if the reason the symptom is there is because there's a bigger problem that you need to address, then the painkiller is actually going to get you into trouble because now you're not feeling that signal anymore and the problem is still there. So I speak body all day long with people, and I want to teach you how to speak body. And so how to learn how to read your symptoms. Because if you don't understand the difference between the symptoms and the cause, or the symptoms and the problem, then the symptom becomes the problem. And then your goal is just to make the symptom go away. And if that symptom is depression and anxiety issues, then you're going to think, I just need to make that anxiety go away. And so then oftentimes we're going to see medications as the apparent solution to that problem. But if you understand that depression and anxiety issues are a sign of another problem, you're going to look in a different direction of how do I get to the cause of this problem so that I can get a real resolution and not just a masking of it. So, when we look at this idea of people asking me, Doc, do you think I should take this medication for the anxiety? Well, I don't know the answer to that. It depends on what your objective is. So that's the question I have to ask back now is, well, what is your objective? If your objective is not to feel it, maybe the medication makes sense for you. But if your objective is to be healthier, then the medication is not going to be the right answer for you. And if your objective is to live a longer, stronger, healthier life, and to actually reduce your risk of chronic anxiety and depression and other life stresses and other chronic illnesses, and increasing your chance of healthier longevity, the problem is that drugs will work and quiet the symptom while you're getting sicker. So we need a better way. And so let's get a little perspective here about this idea of the symptoms. The symptoms are there to tell us in what direction we're heading with our health. They're there to tell us that we are moving away from health. So when we look at this illness wellness continuum, what we see is on the left side is where premature death is happening. People are dying an early death because they've lost so much function, they've lost so much health that they have an early death. On the other side is high-level wellness. And this is what I'm actually going to say is what the natural state should be. We should be at high-level wellness as our natural state, but instead we're not. And in the middle of this, there's not just two pieces here, there's three. So there's sickness, there's health, and in the middle is not sick. This is the not sick zone. And so this is where people get into trouble because many people are calling the not sick zone the healthy zone. And they think they're healthy just because they're not sick. But we can see that robust health is a different place on this continuum than just being not sick. And you can see here that as you lose function, first thing is a sign is going to start to show up that you are losing function. And then after the signs, when you lose more function, that's when the symptoms show up, is when you're already losing so much function. And if you don't address the symptoms and correct the cause and get back moving up the scale here, you're heading towards disability, and disability is where you can't fix the symptom anymore, and you're heading towards earlier death. So symptoms are something that you feel. Signs are something you can measure, but you may not feel. So many people, the first knowledge they have of heart disease is they go to the doctor and get a blood pressure check, and their blood pressure is high and they didn't even know it. So that was a sign, but they didn't have a symptom yet. The same thing with cancer. Many people discover they have cancer from getting a checkup, and it's discovered when they didn't have any symptoms yet. I mean, it's true for cavities, right? By the time you're feeling the symptom of a cavity, you've already had it there a while, whereas the dentist could have looked and seen the objective signs of that cavity even before it happened. So understanding that by the time we're feeling the symptoms, they're telling us we are now moving away from health. And what we do about that is what's important. People are taught that symptoms are the best indicator of their health, meaning if I don't have symptoms, I must be healthy. But actually, we have to look more closely at that, because what science tells us about feeling symptoms is this: less than 10% of your nerves actually sense pain. So less than 10%, actually much less than 10%, tells us about this idea of symptoms. And it tells us that you've already moved far away from health if you're feeling it. Most of the time, if you're feeling a symptom, you're in the late stages of a problem, not the early stages. And so the most common health issues we see, like heart disease, like diabetes, like cancer, like tooth decay, those the early signs are no symptom at all. And so we're taught to judge our health and manage our health by our symptoms, and yet we wait until we have symptoms before we do anything about our health. And that's a problem. People get into trouble with that because they've already lost a lot of function by the time they're feeling the symptoms. So we need a better way to look at our health and our health issues. Who agrees with me here? Show me a hands up if you agree with me. Okay, it seems to be unanimous. So let's look at what a better way is for looking at this. And a better outcome is going to start with a better premise. So here are some premises I'd like you to consider so that you're going to get better results for your health. The first one is that that healthy is normal, that we are designed to be healthy, right? And this means that if you're not experiencing health, something's getting in the way. Something's interfering. If healthy is normal and you're not experiencing health, something's getting in the way of that. And there's only two things that can be getting in the way of healthy normal. And that is a toxicity or a deficiency, or both. Toxicity, deficiency, or both. And as soon as we can reconcile what the toxicities and deficiencies are and get you back on track, we're going to expect to see healthy normal again. That healthy is normal. You are intelligent. Your body is smart. That's the second premise, right? Say yes if you agree with me there. Yes, your body is smart. It is intelligent, right? And if you think about it, every single cell in your body has intelligence in it. Every single cell does. Every single cell is designed to always try to move towards health. And when we can network all of that intelligence in every cell together all at once, that's when we get a body that is smart. And the thing that networks together the intelligence of every cell is the nervous system. The nervous system is the master system in the body. It controls every function in the body. And then your spine is your lifeline. The spine is the suit of armor that is protecting your nervous system. And it's your lifeline. And so what does your spine have to do with mastering holiday stress? Well, can we all agree that our life is more stressful now than it was even a few years ago? Can we all agree to that, right? Yeah, absolutely. 100%, as people say these days. But let's look at where these stresses are coming from, right? So they come at us in 3 dimensions. It's not just stressful thoughts. It's not just worries and concerns. It's actually coming at us from 3 dimensions: thoughts, toxins, and traumas. And all 3 of these have a huge impact on our health and our quality of life. And all 3 are coming at you full force during the holidays, right? Think about it. Tell me if this is you, that life is stressful, right? The 3 dimensions of stress. So who here thinks that stress can affect your health? Everybody here agree stress can affect your health, right? And yeah, okay, there's agreement there. Yeah. So if the body was designed to be healthy, like it's designed to how we digest our food and metabolize our food, how we breathe, how our blood runs, our infections, these are all the systems in our body that allow us to manage our body and have a life where our body is adapting to our environment, our respiratory system, our circulatory system. So we have 6 systems in the body that are managing all the different functions in the body. But what system in our body helps us deal with stress? Does anybody know? And you can unmute yourself. I'm curious if you have a guess of what system helps our body deal with stress.
My central nervous system.
You're exactly right, Cheryl. It's our nervous system that helps us adapt to stress. I mean, you think about how amazing the design of the body is. Well, if we were to cut our finger, right? The body is a self-healing and self-regulating organism. It has the ability to heal itself as long as there's no interference. So if we cut our finger, what happens? It bleeds, it scabs up, and then it heals every time. And if it's not healing, maybe it's because there's a sliver stuck in there. So it gets infected. Do we leave the sliver in and treat it with antibiotics? Or should we just remove the sliver and let the body heal it up? You see, we have to remove the interference that's getting in the way. So why do we have a health crisis if the body can heal itself? What do you think? Why do we have a health crisis if the body can heal itself? Why is that happening? Here's what I think.
Yeah.
We have a lifestyle crisis is the problem, right? We have a healthcare and lifestyle crisis. We have a crisis in our US healthcare system. And when COVID came along, it just showed us where our system is broken, right? Do you remember that? Flatten the curve, 2 weeks to flatten the curve. What was it, flattening the curve? Flattening the curve of people going into the hospital because our hospitals couldn't deal with it. Our hospital system was so frail that it couldn't deal with a increase in people needing hospital care. So that was what it was all about, to flatten the curve. And now here we are 3 years later, right? So this lifestyle crisis is interfering with our body's ability to heal itself, which leads to chronic disease. And you could say as much as 96% of all health problems are the result of our inability to adapt to stress. And at holiday time, it just gets worse. So it's what we are doing that is the problem. That's what the problem is. It's what we're doing, right? You don't get sick, you do sick. I love this. I love this. This is my favorite health premise. Your behaviors matter. Your choices matter. There are positive and negative consequences to your choices and your behaviors. This is a good thing, because if this is true about getting sick, it must also be true for getting and staying well, right? Disease comes from the body's inability to adapt to stress. So here's what I know. You don't get healthy, you do healthy. So let's make getting healthy and staying healthy actionable. How are we going to take action on this? If the body is a self-healing and self-regulating organism, then it has the ability to heal itself as long as there's no interference. And the paradox of being human is that although we are self-healing and self-organizing, we seem to need interaction with other members of our species to catalyze that healing response. And so if we think about what do we need to do to thrive for the holiday season, that's where I want you to go with me on this. So who's with me on this? Let's see if we can thrive in this holiday season, right? This is where we want to go. So let's see if we can understand exactly what happens with stress. It's two sides of the same coin. This is how it works. The healthiest people in the world, they know this about health and healing, that if when it comes to thriving in an unnatural, stressful, modern world, you just need to understand there's these two sides to the coin. So stress reduction is one side of the coin, and stress tolerance is the other side of the coin. So most people have heard of stress reduction. Basically, just don't strive for as much. Just don't want as much, right? Just stop, just live around that, oh, you can't do that anymore. Just restrict your life a little bit more. That's the idea of reducing stress, avoiding the stress. And I'll tell you what, that's not very inspiring to me, to just do less as the solution to this, right? So, there are smart choices that we need to make, and there's some discipline that we need to apply, but I like the other side of the coin better here. Increasing tolerance, that's what I want to talk about. How do we actually have greater capacity to be able to withstand greater stresses? So when we think of the thoughts, toxins, and traumas, right, this is all about something called allostatic load. Allostatic load. If you think of a rain barrel that is filling up with water, filling up, at a certain point, it overflows. So allostatic load is how much capacity can you manage? And when you can't manage anymore, you're overloaded, right? The rain barrel, it spills over. So this idea of allostatic load, it's the difference between what you're able to do and what you are doing and what you have to handle. So if you have more stress than you're able to handle, you're going to need to try to adapt to it. And, for example, lifting weight. If you're struggling just to manage what you have, you can't handle anything more or help anyone else, right? If you're lifting a weight and it's the best you can do, and now there's something else that needs to happen, you cannot do anything else. But if you're lifting a lighter weight that you can manage, oh, I have to do something else too, I can do it. Do you see how that works? So it's a difference between struggling versus something that's easy to manage. If you're already maxed out, then one more little thing is something you just can't manage. So we can, there was a study where they measured two groups for 2 years. Pardon me. And they found that there was a 500% greater increase in heart disease with folks who had high allostatic load compared to the other group. I've been talking a lot today. All right, so when you have the same stresses and you're measuring the heart levels of heart disease, the same levels of stress seem to be the same levels of heart disease, but people that had greater stresses had greater levels of heart disease. And it was a big increase in that heart disease. All right, so if we look now at what are the ways that we're being stressed this time of the year? This time of year, we basically are abusing ourselves through our diets, is what I say is happening. So we have holiday parties, artificial sweeteners, nutritional deficiencies. We have the Christmas 5 pounds that seem to come on. And then somehow they don't come off after the new year. And by the end of next year, we add another 5 pounds to it. There's the increase in alcohol, nicotine, caffeine. Then people are using drugs to try and manage how those symptoms are playing out. There's the Christmas cookies, the processed foods, the overeating, the unhealthy, fatty, and high sugar diets. Now, I love the holidays, but there is more emotional stress at the holidays as well. There's the financial strains with money, feeling like you're not being able to provide. There's all the shopping, work stresses, end of the year stresses with work deadlines, right, Cheryl? Unhealthy relationships, missing family, loss of loved ones, depression, being alone, anxiety, sadness. And then this time of the year, most people stop exercising. They get too busy, it's too cold outside. People maybe go into the holidays with overuse injuries from raking leaves or shoveling snow. We have weather changes, carrying packages, poor posture, slips or falls on the ice, poor sleep, repetitive traumas, travel stress, sedentary lifestyle. All right, hands up if that's you, right? If you experience any of those things, right? And look at, again, it's nearly unanimous there. So what if all three are coming at full force during the holidays? I'm like, Merry Christmas, are you kidding, right? There are known consequences to what we typically see this time of the year, but you get to make a choice. So the more unhealthy your lifestyle is, the more stress it puts on your nervous system, and that then speeds up this process at holiday time. So if you go into the holidays already stressed, then your nervous system's already incapacitated, and the stress of the holidays will actually affect you more. And the consequences of this increased stress are suppressed immune system, depression, exhaustion, anxiety, high blood pressure, elevated cholesterol, weight gain, and increase in heart attacks. And in fact, there was a study that was done, and this was back in 1921. And this guy did autopsies of people that had died. And what he found was that most people, in spite of whatever their listed cause of death was, the average person had 4 to 5 diseased organs that they may not even have known were diseased. So that was going on in the background, right? But his further investigation showed that 96% of the diseased organs were directly related to stress. 96% directly related to stress. And that was done in 1921. Can you imagine what it would be like today, right? So I want to show you the exact mechanism of how stress causes chronic disease and causes folks to lose their health and well-being. And I also want to show you strategies of how you can reverse it. So remember we said that the system that controls how we manage stress is the nervous system. So let's just take a look at the nervous system. Let's unpack this a little bit. It is through our nervous system that we perceive the world, adapt to stress, coordinate all our body parts and functions, express our emotions, and when we put all that together, that is how we create our conscious reality. It's all through our nervous system. The central nervous system controls all of the functions in our body. We literally are living our lives through our nervous system. All of our stress is filtered and processed through the nervous system. So the ability of our nervous system to adapt to stress will determine if we're able to maintain what we call homeostasis or balance and maintain optimum function and health. It's all up to the nervous system functioning properly. And if stress becomes chronic or the amount is significant, it can overwhelm our ability for our nervous system to adapt. And this leads to unhealthy, covert, habituated neurological patterns that can just be hidden, right? We have an overloading stress. Our body has to figure out how to manage that. It's not really resolving it. It's not integrating it. It's too much. And so we just put it into a pattern into our nervous system. So our internal adaptability is working against the outer stresses that are coming in at us. And so if our neurological processing can handle it, then we're going to stay healthy. So remember we talked about the stresses that we thought, well, if I just reduce the stresses, that's the top that we see here, the physical, mental, emotional stresses. So that idea of reducing the stresses, that's one strategy. But increasing our stress tolerance is another strategy. And the interface between that is our nervous system. So if we can't handle it, we're going to develop unhealthy neurological patterns. And so when we look at, for example, this way of measuring the stress in our system, white is the healthy normal, green is a disturbance where we no longer have health, blue is significant, and red is severe. And the interference, the severe interference means you're not healthy. Even if you don't have any symptoms, it still means that you're not healthy. So what do you think happens if severe interference is happening to the organs? They're not going to work right. And so this test actually measures the autonomic nervous system. It actually measures exactly which organs are being affected by the stresses that you are under. And so if we look at health and wellness, if we are robust and have a strong internal adaptability that's greater than the stresses that we're exposed to, then we're going to be maintaining our health and well-being. So I hope that this helps you to look at things, and that the strategy of increasing your tolerance, increasing your robustness is actually your way through this. Because in the last 3 years, what we saw is bigger stresses than we ever imagined are going to come at us. And if we're not building health, then we're going to be taken out by it. The people taken out by COVID are the people that were not adapting to that stress and even greater stresses. So that's really what this is about, is how do we build health, build that robustness, build that adaptability. So there are things that you're going to want to stop doing, things you're going to want to slow down on, things you're going to want to start doing, so that you can actually get that adapt to stress higher and maintain that homeostasis. And your system only has a certain capacity, and if it's overwhelmed, it's going to start to break down and develop disease. So let's get strategic here. We have choices, and it's really about healthy outcomes versus sick outcomes. So no judgment here, but just recognize that if we make a healthy or an unhealthy choice, we can always get back on track, right? So this time of the year, if we, like you can see her, nobody's looking, I'm just going to sneak that cupcake. Well, your body, you can't hide it from your body. Your body has to deal with that extra stress, even if nobody else knows about it, right? But you can always get back on track towards your goals. So, you know, if we take the conventional approach is just do whatever you want with your lifestyle, no matter how toxic it is. Listen to every commercial and buy everything that the commercials say are natural and healthy, even though they're not, right? And then when you start to get the symptoms, you can just treat the symptoms. We've got drugs for that, right? If this is a strategy that you're using, the research shows, hands down, no question, you will have a shorter and worse life. But if you address the cause, it's more than just saying no to the drugs. You have to say yes to something else. So oftentimes things need to overlap until your system's healthy enough to wean off or stop the drugs. So you need to just start building health, and then you can just start to say no to the drugs because you've said yes to the healthy things. And what are the healthy things to say yes to? Making changes in your lifestyle. So for us to coach you on making healthier lifestyle choices, or use some lifestyle and health coaching in some way to correct the causes. Maybe there's some problems in your nervous system. That's why you're not adapting to your stresses, and we can correct the cause of that. And if you take this approach, the research shows, hands down, you will have a better and longer life. So let's now unpack this a little bit more. What you think and how you think will determine how it affects your body. So you actually need to train yourself in order to make it easier. Humans actually have this amazing ability to relive things without actually even being there. And that can cause the exact same stress hormones to be released as when that particular stress happened in the past. So it's all about how our nervous system is perceiving the world. It's all about how you think and how you're interpreting your environment. And this is what I mean by it. You see that long, tall bar graph here. This is everything you've ever worried about. This is everything you've ever worried about that's actually happened, right? So we worry about lots of things that are never going to happen. So when something is in front of you as a stress, I want to invite you to actually analyze it and ask yourself, is this actually life-threatening? Like, is my life actually in danger right in this moment? Yeah, no, right? It's just a deadline. It's just a deadline somebody made up, right? So ask yourself that question. And as soon as you say the answer is no, your prefrontal cortex can kind of come back online and you can start to be thinking more rationally rather than your reptilian brain that comes into play when a tiger is chasing us. So that's a good tool, is just to ask yourself, is this life-threatening or not? And maybe it's just simply annoying, right? That's the question. Is this life-threatening or is it just annoying, right? And then the other question to ask yourself is, will you remember it in a day, a week, or a month? Right? If this is something you're not even going to remember next month, then clearly it's something that is just annoying rather than life-threatening. And then just take a deep breath right down into your belly and right down into your diaphragm and count to 10. So think to thrive. Choose your attitude. Recognize that connection, acceptance, and respect are essential nutrients in order to be happy and healthy as a human. We literally are hardwired that we need this. If you think of back in Paleolithic times when we had tribes, if you were not a member of the tribe and you were out on your own, that was suicide. So you needed to have that connection with the tribe. You needed to be accepted by the tribe, and you need to be respected by the members of the tribe, or they were going to cast you out. So look for those opportunities of people that you can feel connected to, accepted by, respected by, and offer that also to the people in your tribe, that you offer acceptance and respect to them. Unconditional love. It is an amazing dynamic in relationships, that it's this quality of there's nothing this person can do that can make you not love them, right? That's what unconditional love is. To make you love them more or less, there's nothing they can do that can change that. And it's not based on their behavior. So this is not an unconditional acceptance or approval of their behavior. This is simply about them being a human being. Grace, we all need a second chance. We all need do-overs, right? That's really what grace is. And this whole illusion of control, like you can only control your own response and what you think about things. So turning the stress switch off is a key tool to know how to do. And going to gratitude is the fastest way to turn the stress switch off. Studies have actually shown that if no matter what stress you're in, if you can think about something that you're grateful for, it turns the stress switch off in the body. Now, I also like to use very specific techniques to help to turn the stress switch off. EFT, emotional freedom technique, is a wonderful tool to use. I teach it here in the practice. I've got a workshop on it that you can look at. We actually have a colleague of mine, Kim Guidry. She's going to be coming back in January, and every couple of weeks she's going to be running a group EFT session. So you can come in and learn it there, and it is powerful. Headspace is an app. So there's an app for that, right? Headspace is an app that will teach you how to meditate. If you don't know how to meditate, it's a free app, and it gives you 10 sessions to learn how to meditate. And then there's a book called The Work that I love. It's by a woman named Byron Katie. And what I love about this book is everything you need to learn, they teach it to you in the first 20 pages. And then the rest of the book is just examples. So you can learn it fast. But it's a wonderful tool. Again, just strategies to use. Byron Katie, she was actually in a psychiatric institution, throw away the key, not expected to ever come out. And she just figured out on her own, there were 4 questions that you needed to ask yourself. And if she asked herself those 4 questions, she came to sanity and peace in herself. And so she ended up walking out of there completely healthy, and shared those 4 questions with the rest of the world in her book called Loving What Is. The name of the book is called Loving What Is by Byron Katie. So if you're a note taker, write that down, Loving What Is. You can find used copies on Amazon for a couple of bucks. It's been around for a long time. I highly recommend it. And then also there's just ways to just say affirmations to yourself. Like that's another great tool. So meditation, prayer, affirmations, all great tools to use for how you think to deal with stress. And I want to show you this fantastic little video here. all about mind over matter, right? And that practice makes perfect. And it's not about perfection, it's about progress. So if you're practicing negative thoughts, you're just going to get better at those negative thoughts. So having an attitude of gratitude and affirmations, even just dancing around for a couple minutes, you're going to have a better day. And so let me just see if I can bring this up. I'm just going to stop the share here for a moment so I can switch over to the video aspect here. So hang on for a second. Let me bring this up. Let's see. All right. So I just need to come down to my little toolbar here and bring this up. Oh, I see. I just need to do one more thing. There we go. All right. And let's see, here we go. All right. So one more moment. I got to shuffle this around the right way here. All right, and now we're going to share the screen again. Let's see. I've got it. All right. And maybe you've seen this before. It was from a number of years of this. Here we go.
Look, I can be a shark. Now my whole house is great. I can do anything good. I like my school. I like anything. I like my dad. I like my cousins. I like my aunts. I like my Allisons. I like my moms. I like my sisters. I like my dad. I like my hair. I like my haircuts. I like my pajamas. I like my stuff. I like my rooms. I like my whole house. My whole house is great. I can do anything good. Yeah. I can do anything good. Better than anyone. Better than anyone.
I love that. I just love it. So let me now change the shares here again. So like, can't anybody do that, right? If she can do it, then we can do it. And we just need to close the door so nobody sees us, but we can do that. And it will spiral your energy up if you do that. Just take it on, I dare you, right? All right, here we go. Back to my PowerPoint. All right. Here we go. All right. So can everybody see my screen again? Oh, actually, I need to just change one thing because I can't see you here. I need to stop the share and do it a little differently. There we go. Okay, perfect. So we need to master our thoughts. That is the message here. And there's plenty of different ways that we can do that. So mastering your thoughts. I love this. It's kind of like a machete through the forest the first time that we try this out. But once we repeat it, it establishes a well-worn path and eventually a superhighway. So whatever pathways we repeatedly fire become sensitized. And if you're just constantly thinking anxious thoughts, the genes that are involved in the stress pathways, they literally will express stress physiology and biochemistry more quickly and efficiently. So this is a very real thing. You want to put energy into practicing healthier thoughts because it literally will affect your gene expression. So continuing any toxic thought patterns means you're just going to have to treat the outcome of the health concerns. So just own the consequences. What would the perfect you do? Practice happy memories, focus on something else, get out and exercise. That changes your brain chemistry. Go get an adjustment. Like those are all things that can change if you're stuck in a pattern with your thoughts. How about the way you start your day, right? So just imagine, you're sleeping peacefully, soundly, and then this obnoxious alarm clock goes off, right? Well, is that peaceful, right? So, think of a tale of two mornings, right? Starting the day in a stress response with the obnoxious alarm clock, right? Or people that put the alarm clock across the room so they have to get out of the bed to turn it off, or multiple alarm clocks, right? Can anyone here relate to this, right? Pressing the snooze button over and over again, right? Right. And then the next thing you know, you're up, you're late, you can't find your keys, there's no time for breakfast, you have a hectic, busy, stressed out morning, right? Like that's where it goes from there. But imagine this, you're toasty warm and sleep, and then you just hear a few birds chirping, you hear the gradual sound of a little gentle music, slowly it gets a little louder and it wakes you up, right? It's not practical if you didn't go to bed on time, this is not practical, right? But when you think about the anticipation of a great day, if that's your first thought is, today is going to be an amazing day. Even if you don't know if it will be or not, starting your day with that phrase, today is going to be an amazing day, it changes the tone. And if you're waking up exhausted, it's kind of hard to come up with that statement. So really just think about a morning ritual for yourself and remember to stretch in the morning. Humans are the only animal that don't stretch when they wake up, right? But we should be doing that. So make sure you just stretch, just organically stretch. Journaling so you can focus on things, meditation, prayer, right? Just starting the day strong. And then when you encounter the first stress of the day, maybe you look out the window and a tree crashed on your car in the night, right? You can master your response. The reaction is the first gut instinct, but then it's what follows that response. Is it followed with cursing, or are you following with, I'm so grateful I wasn't in the car when that happened, right? What can I be grateful for here? Or, wow, my house is so soundproof, I never even heard that, right? So just looking for what you can be grateful for, right? And then if you're on your way to work, you get cut off on the highway, you have two guys yelling at each other who don't even know each other. They're never going to see each other again. They won't even remember it next week, but they're literally changing their body chemistry in that moment, and it will affect their health. So how are you starting your day? Well, the way you start your day is going to depend on how you slept the night before. So sleep to thrive. Protect your rhythm of sleep. Getting up early is good. It's a good rhythm to have, even if you need to take a nap during the day. But watch out, don't overcommit, especially this time of the year. Like if there's a party you're invited to that you don't really want to go to, no is a love word, right? Choose your commitments, choose what you're going to agree to, and check what your expectations are this time of the year. Are you overcommitting yourself? Are you having too high expectations and really not enough time, energy, focus, or money to actually be able to manage them? And e-fast is when you are finishing your day to not have electronics on all the way up until you go to sleep. So give your brain a rest from the electronics. That is key. All right, so how do you make all this a reality? You want to go to bed on time. That's going to set you up for an awesome day the next day. And planning takes time, but it actually saves time. Food prep is a key before the week starts. So put time into preparing your food for the week, so you're going to have healthy choices throughout the week. Exercise is going to help you with sleep. So you need to exercise hard so that your body gets has physical exertion. And if you do that daily, you're going to fall asleep much more easily. And then again, that e-fast, like 30 minutes before bed is good for the e-fast. Some people, they need 90 minutes, no electronics, 90 minutes before they go to bed. And make sure you're planning the time that you're going to go to sleep. And then when you wake up, having consistent morning rituals. And it's much easier if the whole culture of the house is the same. So if everybody's going in the same rhythm, going to bed and getting early, it's really hard when you've got a morning glory and a night owl in the same house. That can be tricky. Eating to thrive. So the key here is you don't want to eat less, but you do want to eat less often. And you want to just never go hungry. That is key, because once you're hungry, your willpower totally tanks, and someone's offering you the Christmas cookies and you're not going to be able to resist. So make sure if you're going to a party that you know there's going to be unhealthy foods, fill yourself with healthy foods first before you go.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna share with you what the healthy foods are, just to give you a guideline, a way to think about it. Remember that the battle is won at the register. Don't let it in the house. And if people bring things to your house that are not healthy, send them home with those people. Give them their doggy bag to take things back with them, because you know your willpower will not withstand it. And especially if you're frugal, you can't let it go to waste. I'll just finish it up. But then the next thing you know, more is coming into the house. So when you're shopping, make sure you're strong when you're shopping, because the battle is won at the register. Don't drink your calories. Watch out for the calories that are in sweet drinks, whether it's alcohol or sodas or soft drinks. That can really undermine what your goals are. And avoid the white stuff. What do I mean by the white stuff, right? The flour, the sugar, the refined carbs. And if you can make 3 exchanges, this is where you're going to cover ground the most. So exchange the unhealthy grains like wheat and corn, those kinds of things, and exchange them for the ancient grains, things like amaranth and spelt and oats and things like brown rice. Those sorts of things that's a better exchange to do. Quinoa is an excellent ancient grain that you can exchange for. Exchange the sweeteners from the unhealthy cane sugar and I'm forgetting what that terrible artificial sweetener is. That is, I want to say sucanat, but that's not it.
You don't
It's
mean
good.
aspartame or
Yeah,
sucralose?
aspartame. Yeah, and what is it again?
The sucralose or the like NutraSweet, but all dextrose?
Yeah, like just
All
it's
the
in the
sugar alcohol.
The Splenda.
Ah.
Yeah, it is bad. It is so bad. It will make you gain weight. Yeah, Splenda. Yeah, so avoid that. And exchange it for the healthy sweeteners. So the healthy sweeteners are going to be, even things like natural sweeteners like raw honey, maple syrup, right? Coconut palm sugar is a healthier sweetener to go with. Stevia, monk fruit, those are erythritol. Those are some of the healthier sweeteners to exchange for. And then the oils. So you want to avoid all of those seed oils like the corn oil, soybean oil, the
Canola.
canola oil. Canola oil is terrible. Yeah. So you want to avoid those oils, and the healthy oils to exchange it for are going to be things like olive oil, coconut oil, the grass-fed meats and the fats in the healthy animals. Lard from a healthy pig is actually a fantastic healthy fat. Yeah, going back into the old days when and that was, lard was demonized by the seed oil industry, trying to get you to go to the vegetable oils, which were actually unhealthy. So make sure you make those types of exchanges. And so to eat to thrive, you want to have unlimited vegetables, plenty of lean cuts of natural meats that are grass-fed, pastured, free range, the wild-caught fish, the free-range eggs, and then some fruit, nuts, and seeds, and no refined carbohydrates and sugar. Just avoid that. If we look at the way our body was genetically designed, this is the way Paleolithic man would have eaten, is the way we can describe it right here. So make sure you never go to a party with an empty stomach. Bring your own healthy dishes to the parties. You can always bring a fruit or veggie tray as a gift for the host, and then you can snack on that if there's no other healthy choices. And how you do it through the holidays is just like the rest of the year. How you do the rest of the year is going to play out during the holidays. So just start right now. Like, I know people say, oh, I just got to get through the holidays, right? I'm going to be bad for the holidays. And I'm just telling you, I know what the rest of the year is like for you people too, right? So see what it's like to be strong during the holidays and finish the year strong. It's amazing how it will charge you up, your energy levels, your self-esteem, all those things. So, and it's also pretty amazing how there are paleo and keto recipes for just about all of the unhealthy holiday favorite foods. If you do a search for a keto version or a paleo version of whatever it is that you love, you're going to find a recipe that's going to be a healthy version of that. Now, what about supplements to thrive? So supplements, remember, are a supplementation to our diet, not in place of a poor diet, but to supplement an already healthy diet. And so some of the basic supplements that are good this time of the year are vitamin D and vitamin K. Always take those together. B complex, because when we are stressed, we use up a lot of B vitamins. Fish oil is excellent for dealing with the imbalance that comes from the holiday foods to drop inflammation in the body. Probiotics are so important for this time of the year to keep your immune system strong. 80% of your immune system is in your gut. So healthy probiotic foods, as well as a possible probiotic supplement. Echinacea, good to just use this time of the year for the strong immune system. Elderberry is an excellent piece to add in this time of the year as well, just to keep that immune system strong. So remember that stress is the thing that tanks our immune system, and it uses up certain nutrients faster. So that's why supplementation can be useful this time of the year. So remember the 3 T's for stress: thoughts, toxins, and traumas. Now let's look at the stress of traumas, which is basically the category of physical stresses. Now, this is the time of the year when ice starts to show up. I already have people coming in that have slipped on the ice already this year. And so we can have macro traumas like that, falling down, car accidents, sports injuries. You know, that's the obvious stuff. And these traumas can obviously cause problems, but there's a very serious condition that you should understand, because it's critical for your health and your ability to heal. And that is that these types of traumas can also cause subluxations. And subluxations are when there's a joint misalignment in the spine that causes soft tissue damage. That leads to inflammation and nerve irritation. That leads to muscle spasms, where the body just tries to strap the joint down to stop it from moving, because the movement in the joint can irritate the nerve. And when that joint gets fixated, the signals going to the brain stop sending messages, and the brain now gets overloaded because it can't track what's going on. So let me just unpack that a little bit more for you. In every joint in the body, we have mechanoreceptors that send signaling to the brain to let the brain know where the body is in space. So I can look at where my hand is to know where it is, but if I close my eyes, if I move my joints, I'm getting signaling, and I actually know exactly where my hand is from the movement. That sends signaling to the brain. We call that proprioception. And so knowing where the body is in space comes from those mechanoreceptors firing to the brain. And the brain can just keep track of everything as long as it gets those mechanoreceptors firing. When we have a subluxation where the nerve is irritated, your smart body uses muscle spasms to strap that joint down to stop it from moving. And so we get joint fixation. And when the joint stops moving, we no longer get the mechanoreceptors firing. And now the brain is not getting signaling anymore from that part of the body. And the brain starts to get stressed, like, what is going on down there? Hey, is there anybody there? Where'd you go? And the brain actually will go into a global stress response when it stops getting the proper proprioceptive firing. And it will increase cortisol production in the body. It'll flood the body with stress hormones. And cortisol is what alters immune system function. When we have high cortisol levels, we will dampen down the immune system function. So remember that stress response, right? We're going to have that blood pressure increase, the blood sugar increase, the inflammation, immune system downregulation, right? And so all of that is going to have an effect on our health. And in fact, literally, when the immune system downregulates, it makes us prone to getting sick. And people who don't deal with stress well actually have a decrease in the natural killer cell activity in their body. Many studies are now showing that a strong defense against COVID is not just the antibodies, but the strong natural killer cells. And there's evidence that chiropractic care can actually help support healthy natural killer cell production and function. So there's a link there. And so remember, with physical stresses, it's not just the big stresses and traumas of the falls and the accidents, but the micro traumas are very significant here. And these are also things that can cause subluxations. So they're not as obvious to us, but they're far more common as a cause of subluxation in our modern world. And so the micro traumas, it's the small stuff. You know, we all sit too much. We all have too much screen time, too much computers, too much phone time. And that's all ages, especially kids in their formative years. I'm seeing it. And this next generation is in trouble. It's affecting their posture, and it's going to be a problem because their posture is going to be affecting their health. And it all is cumulative, right? It's habitual postural stress that leads to the subluxations. It's cumulative like a cavity. It is cumulative. So sitting is the new smoking. And so if we're going to reconcile how much we sit, we actually have to move to thrive. We have to be moving. Our cells genetically are hardwired to require movement in order to thrive. So, you know, whatever your movement is going to be, have it be something that you like. Maybe you like to dance. Turn the music on and start dancing. That's a great way to be moving. Maybe you like to go out for walks. Add some burst exertion to your walks where you're pushing yourself so you're breathing hard, right? That's going to generate your cells to create more energy. Oftentimes exercising first thing in the morning is going to be best because you actually get it in. And now you can say, I did it, rather than the day gets on with itself. And next thing you know, it's the end of the day. I didn't get to it. I'll get to it tomorrow. So exercising in the morning is a good plan. And also here's something, only exercise on the days that you eat. Right. That's based on the whole science of exercise, right? Because think of our ancestors. We had to be moving if we were going to eat. We had to go and get that food. So our body actually connects movement and eating together. Getting energy has to have movement, expenditure of energy with it. And so if you don't, it's just going to add to the cumulative effects of chronic stress. And remember, you can always default to the 4-minute workout, right? If you missed your chance to do your 20-minute workout, you can always do a 4-minute workout. And it's on my website, the 4-minute workout. And if you don't know it, just let me know and I can make sure that you get it. So that is the antidote to being too busy, is the 4-minute workout. Now, remember, posture is so key here. And if our posture is bad, it literally puts stress on our spine and our nervous system. And the more hunched over we are, the more use of devices that hunches us over, the more sitting and slouching, right? The most unhealthy positions are like this, and it actually puts stress on your organs. So it's not as easy to breathe. It puts stress on your lungs and your heart, and all day long. So this is what the modern person is turning into, right? How many people remember Charlie Brown, right? I love this comic. This is my depressed stance. When you're depressed, it makes a lot of difference how you stand. The worst thing you can do is straighten up and hold your head high, because then you'll start to feel better. And if you're going to get any joy out of being depressed, you've got to stand like this, right? Don't we know that? Posture really does tell a story. When we see someone's posture, it tells a story. It tells the story of stress. So everyone has stress, but not everybody knows how much stress they have and how they're handling it. And that is important. So we really do need to measure how we are dealing with stress. And from the time you were born until now, you've experienced many stresses. And every overloading episode is what can accumulate in your nervous system. It could be intense stressor events, or it can be chronic unhealthy habits that are overloading because they just don't end. They just keep going, right? And there can be multiple episodes of lesser stresses that can also lead to unhealthy neurological patterns. So it's not just the big bad event that happened that can set up an unhealthy pattern. It's the ongoing low-level stresses that don't stop. And all of these things can leave scars on the nervous system. And we literally can go in and measure exactly where those scars in the nervous system are with the technology that we use. And so these unhealthy neurological patterns, they actually play out, and we can look at them and measure them, and we can also see them dissolve away and integrate. So it's all based on the intensity, the chronicity, the number of episodes, and the subluxations that are created from that are the unhealthy neurological patterns that are interfering with the body's ability to express itself, the ability for the body to function and adapt to the environment and to stresses. So when we have subluxations, it causes nerve irritation and interference in your body's innate ability to heal and remain healthy. So we want to have a beautiful forward curve. If we have subluxation, it can affect the disc, which can then affect the nerves and the spinal cord. And so here you can see a loss of that curve, and you can see degenerative change has started to occur right where that loss of curve is. So that's why x-rays can be so useful when we are examining the spine. I think of the spine as a circuit breaker, right? Here's the circuit breaker. Here's where one of the fuses is blown. Here's another one. And just like in your house where those wires go to certain rooms in the house, these nerves are going to certain organ systems. And we know what those systems, we know what those systems are. Hang on. So the brain is controlling everything, and it's got to send the messages through the nervous system to control it. So we have a nerve that comes out at the top of the spine that controls all of these organs. And then we have the nerves that come out all the way down the spine to control those same organs. So if you have a subluxation pattern, a misalignment of nerve interference at the top of the spine, that also can affect organ function all the way through the body. Or we could have selective subluxations in different areas, and that can affect organ function. So if you went home to your house tonight and one whole room, the lights didn't work, the appliances didn't work, you wouldn't spend a minute trying to change a light bulb in that room. You'd go straight to the power source, to the circuit breaker, wouldn't you? And see, where's that circuit that has tripped? Something got overloaded. How do I fix that? So when someone comes to our office and they're describing certain organ systems that are not working right, like digestion or cardiovascular function, chiropractors are going to go right to the power source and see where the subluxations are, where the circuits are blown. And that's where we want to see if we're going to be able to help by correcting the subluxations. Remember, we talked about the Windsor autopsies and where he said that the diseased organs were related to 96% of the diseased organs were directly related to stress. What he found was that there was irritation near the origin of the sympathetic nerve, which caused functional organic changes in the organs supplied by the nervous system irritated. What he means is, I'm just going to go back here so that I can show you. He did the autopsies and he found which organs were diseased, and then he traced the nerves back to the spine, and he found they had subluxations 96% of the time. Whatever organs were diseased, they had subluxations in the very place where that nerve would have been controlling that organ. 96% of the time. And that was in 1921. And that information has not changed. We've just added to the research since then. So if you are not sure whether or not you have subluxations, whether or not your stresses have subluxation patterns, stressed patterns in your body that is affecting your health, please reach out to us. I would love to just sit down and have a conversation with you and see if I can help. And if you just send a text to 802-985-9850 and just put in the word stress webinar, then we'll know that you're contacting us because of that. And my team will just set up a time for us to have a conversation to see if I can help. I'd love to do that. No charge. Just I'll give you 10 minutes of my time. I'm happy to do that. So if you're not already clear about what's happening in your nervous system, then just please reach out. I would love to just have a chat with you and see if I can help. So stressed out, the holiday red zone. Now you know all about the holiday red zone. You know all about the two sides of the coin here, right? It's all about reducing stresses. Yes, you can be strategic there, and there can be some discipline. You can make some healthy choices there, but also you want to increase the tolerance and get your body healthier and more robust. You want to get that nervous system as healthy as possible, because that's what helps you adapt to the stresses that you're exposed to. And so I want to show you that when you have the subluxations and it interferes with your ability to adapt to stress, how that can play out. And if we adjust those subluxations, how that can also play out. So adjusting to thrive. Remember, healthy is normal, your body is smart, the nervous system is the master system in the body controlling everything else. Stress causes subluxations in the nervous system. Your spine is that suit of armor where those subluxations occur, right? When you think of a suit of armor, where is the weak place where the arrow is going to get in? It's going to be in the joints of the suit of armor, right? That's where the arrow is going to go in, where the joints are, and that's where the subluxations occur. And remember that modern life is unnaturally stressful. That's what's causing the circuits to blow, is that we're being overloaded by stress. So I want you to know, even Santa and his elves get adjusted on a regular basis. They stop by every year to make sure that they are getting their spines checked, because Christmas, it's joyful for them, but they work really hard to pull Christmas off every year. So stay subluxation free and make sure you're well adjusted. And you have to get your nervous system healthy as the number one thing to do, regardless of if you have scars from the nervous system from the past unhealthy ways. Those scars are still there. So you could improve all of your lifestyle choices so you're causing less stress to your system and causing less subluxations, but the subluxations that are there have to be corrected, or they continue to be scars on your nervous system. And then once you do this, you're going to get greater value from all the other lifestyle improvements that you make. So remember that, how do you know if you have a subluxation? We have to test it. We have to measure it. So we use lots of things to measure subluxations, from our scanning technology to motion palpation, feeling, is there restriction of motion in the joints? The static palpation, can we feel that the joint is actually misaligned? Looking at posture, poor posture, imbalances in posture, using the x-rays to tell us how long the subluxations have been there. Is there degenerative change there? And of course, your body signals. That's what you have to listen to your body, and it's what is your body telling you? If you have symptoms, it's your body is trying to tell you you need to make a change, that you are moving away from health. And so one of those changes you could make is go see whether or not your nervous system is being interfered with, which is affecting your ability to adapt to your environment. So when we correct subluxations, it's a three-legged stool model that we use. First, of course, we need to break the bad habits that cause you to continue to create those subluxations. We want to add specific spinal exercises in to get your spine really strong so it can adapt to stresses better. And we want to have chiropractic adjustments in a rhythm so that you are correcting not just the most recent subluxation patterns, but also correcting as much of the old damage as possible. And then we want to train you on how to stop recreating the patterns so we can prevent problems in the future. And so when we do our scanning technology, it's going to show us the nervous system is the window to your health. So how do you know if holiday stress has left any unhealthy neurological patterns? Well, we have to measure it. And so the scars on the nervous system are the subluxations, and they're the indicators for there being dis-ease. And dis-ease is what starts the downward spiral towards disease. So I want to show you this healing journey. This was a woman that came under care that was struggling with anxiety. And this is the first scan we did on her in June. And you can see her spine, it's lit up like a Christmas tree here, right? So many areas. And I just want to let you know, this is the vagus nerve that controls all the organs down to the large intestine. This is the part that it controls respiration and anxiety. This is the part that controls digestion. This is the part that is the adrenal glands that affects how we are going to manage stress. This is for the immune system because it's for the intestines and the colon, reproductive system, the large intestine where you're going to get rid of toxins. Liver is controlled from here. So you can see these subluxation patterns had a big effect on her overall health as well. And then 1 month later, we rescanned. So she got under a program of care. We started adjusting her. Is that a healthier scan? Much healthier, right? But we also see this is like peeling a spinal onion, peeling the layers off, and we can see what patterns are a bit more ingrained here, this upper cervical patterning. And so then we taught her how to start to do these healthy techniques healthy strategies, how to eat better, how to sleep better, how to exercise better. We also taught her how to do the EFT tapping so she could turn off the stress switch. And we can see it's definitely continues to get healthier, and it's starting to change. We can see changes in the patterns here. Right? That's a clear nervous system, right? So she started in June. By September, she was functioning so much better. She was no longer having anxiety attacks. And, you know, here we go. By December, she had a clear nervous system and her work was completely different. People were commenting to her at work of how different she was showing up, that she wasn't all stressed out anymore. And so it was a dramatic change, and we could measure the change by doing the scans on a regular basis as well. So if we're going to be preventing holiday subluxations and if we're going to be building health, the absolute key to eliminating the dis-ease process is how well an individual can manage the 3 types of stresses and their nervous system during the holiday season. This is key. And so I want you to see that you literally can reverse the effects of subluxation. And this is a scan of even years later by continuing with care and practicing our exercises and healthy habits consistently. So this one was done, this scan, the first scans were done in 2006. This was a scan from 2010. And she, you know, had a clear nervous system still with chiropractic care, with doing the breathing work we taught her, the EFT. She used the Byron Katie work as well. So we just recommended all these pieces, and this is what really helped her. So the choices you make today will determine your health tomorrow, right? And you do get to choose here. It's up to you. The choice is yours. And don't wait till you have chronic disease and lose your health or have a stroke or cardiovascular disease before taking action. Just start eating your vegetables right now, right? Make those changes right now. And don't use the holidays as an excuse to live poorly. I hear it all the time. Do not do that, because if you do, you will be on Santa's naughty list if you do that. And that's going to get you coal in your stocking. So remember, change. It's worth it. It's not too hard, and you can do it. And there's a dangerous belief that, oh, my problems will go away if I just ignore them. No, they won't. They just get worse and harder and more expensive and harder to correct. So that is the end of my presentation. I hope that you enjoyed this. If you're under care, we are going to be putting a recording of this up so you can share it with people that you know that are being stressed out during the holidays. Anyone you encounter that is stressed out, just let them know, I've got something for you, right? And you can share this link with them. And for those of you that are not under care, I would like to invite you to please reach out to us and let me know if I can help. And so just text us, you know, the stress webinar, just text that to us, and 985-9850, and we can set up a time to talk. So I hope that you found that this was useful, and I'm going to stop the recording now. So let me just do that if I can find it. Let me see. Here we go. Oh, that didn't do it. Let me try something else here. Oh, here we go. Oh, that's not it either. Well, I don't even know how to stop my recording here. Let's see. I've made my little screen too small, and now I can't make it big again. So does anybody have any questions before we sign off today? Any questions?
No, it's worthy, you know. I realize how many mistakes I did.
Okay.
I have to prove.
Awareness is the first step, isn't it? Yes. And remember, it's progress, not perfection, is the key to this. All right. Well, thank you everybody for your time and attention. And I look forward to seeing you in the office soon.
Thank you. We eliminate stress.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
And good night.
Good
Bye.
night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thank you, Dr. Heather.
You're welcome. I'm glad you could join us.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
See you next week.
All right. Sounds good.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Okay.
Lost it.